Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive. Today, we're doing things a little differently. We're tapping into a Hebrew language podcast.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's called The News Report That You Deserve.
And, well, it's definitely not your average news source.
It's like that saying, truth is stranger than fiction, right?
Exactly. Like, take, for instance, that story about the Slovakian model, Veronica Rajek.
Oh, yeah, the one about her, how do I put this delicately? Claiming her, shall we say, assets, got a boost from a summer of sunshine in her dad's beer. I mean, come on.
Okay, so maybe not your typical scientific breakthrough, but you can't deny it's a good story. And it does make you wonder, why are we so quick to believe these kind of outlandish claims, especially when it comes to, body image and those quick fix solutions?
Right, it's like we want to believe there's an easy answer out there, even if it involves, well, copious amounts of beer.
It definitely says something about our relationship with those sorts of ideas. Whether it's true or not, it sparks a conversation.
True that.
So to kick things off, we've got a story about a Colombian man who claims his fiancée is pregnant with their third child.
Third child. Wow, congratulations to... Wait, did you say fiance?
You heard right. Except there's a slight twist. His fiancée, Natalia, happens to be a rag doll.
A rag doll.
A rag doll, and they're about to welcome their third little bundle of joy, apparently. Okay, now this is what I call news you deserve. But seriously, what's the deeper meaning here?
Right. It's easy to get stuck on the unconventional aspects of this whole thing.
You think?
But it does make you think, right?
Yeah.
I mean, here we are in this age of virtual reality and artificial intelligence. Are we maybe seeing a shift in how we as a society define relationships? Like, what even is companionship in 2024?
It's a good question. Is this just an isolated, kind of quirky incident?
Hmm.
Or is it a sign of things to come?
Yeah, is this the future of relationships? Gives you a lot to ponder. Speaking of blurring the lines between reality and, well, everything else, let's move on to a story from Israel. A concert got a little sidetracked because of some nearby protests.
Oh, no, that's frustrating.
Yeah, totally. So, to keep the crowd entertained while things got sorted out, they decided to put on a movie.
Makes sense. A nice way to keep everyone calm and distracted.
Right, but here's the thing. They didn't just put on any random movie. They chose to play a classic Israeli comedy called Charlie Vehetzi, Charlie and a Half.
Interesting choice. Why that particular film?
Well, that's what caught my attention, too. I mean, Charlie Vehetzi is known for its satirical take on Israeli society. Like, it touches on some pretty real, even sensitive topics.
So maybe there was a message there, a subtle form of social commentary, perhaps.
All right, like, was it just about distraction, or were they trying to make a point by choosing that specific film in that particular context?
It really makes you appreciate how even something as simple as choosing a movie can have these deeper layers of meaning.
All right, let's shift gears a bit. Our next story takes us into the art world, with a side of clumsiness for good measure.
Yes. The unfortunate tale of the shattered Jeff Koons sculpture. Proof that even priceless art isn't safe from everyday mishaps.
I've got to be honest, this one made me cringe a little. Woman accidentally backs into a balloon dog sculpture. That's a cool $42,000, by the way. And poof, it's gone. I mean, I've bumped into my fair share of furniture, but a giant, shiny sculpture? Come on.
Well, I think what gets lost sometimes is that Koons, he's a bit of a controversial figure in the art world, but his work, like those balloon dogs, they're designed to be deceptively simple. Meaning they look like something you'd see at a kid's birthday party, but there's a whole lot more going on beneath the surface.
So not just your average balloon animal, then?
Not exactly. Koons, he takes these everyday objects, elevates them to this level of high art, which of course is reflected in the price tag.
Right, because a $42,000 balloon animal, that's something else. Although the article was a little vague on the details, wasn't it? Was it really an accident, or was there something more going on?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Without more information, it's hard to say for sure.
An art world mystery for the ages. I like it. We're headed to California for a story that feels like it's straight out of, one of those life comes at you fast memes.
Oh boy, this is going to be good, isn't it?
You bet. Picture this as a parking lot. A would-be thief trying to swipe a catalytic converter.
Okay, not that unusual, unfortunately.
Right, but here's the kicker. The owner of the SUV is actually asleep inside the vehicle.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and get this. She wakes up, hears what's going on, freaks out, throws the car in reverse, and accidentally runs the guy over.
Oh, wow. Talk about a turn of events.
No kidding, right? It's tragic, obviously. I mean, someone lost their life, and the car owner is now, well, dealing with the aftermath of that.
It really highlights how quickly things can go sideways.
Totally. But it also brings up these really tricky questions, about justice and, dare I even say it, karma.
It's hard to ignore the irony, right? Like, almost feels like something out of a movie. But it forces us to think about the situations where, the lines get blurry.
Yeah, exactly. Like, is there ever a scenario where taking the law into your own hands, even unintentionally, is justifiable?
Such a tough question. One we probably won't have an easy answer to.
Nope, not at all. Maybe we need something a little lighter for a moment. How about we take a little trip to the future?
Always down for a bit of time travel. Lead the way.
Perfect. Okay, so get a load of this. We have a self-proclaimed time traveler claiming to be from the year 2858, dropping some predictions about the year 2023.
Oh boy, here we go.
And of course, I couldn't resist. Had to check it out. It's especially when I saw one about them discovering the secret to living longer.
The eternal quest for longevity. I mean, who hasn't wondered about that at some point?
For real. But it also makes you wonder, like, at what point does healthy skepticism cross over into, just not being open-minded enough?
It's a fine line to walk, right? On one hand, we don't want to dismiss everything that sounds a little out there because history is full of examples of things people thought were impossible, and then boom, they happen.
Totally. Like flying cars, hello? But then again, you also got to be careful about misinformation and, people just wanting to believe things that fit their own narratives.
A classic human tendency, right? Confirmation bias, they call it.
Exactly. Speaking of journeys through time, though this one is a little less out there, how about a quick hop over to Britain for a story about a letter that finally arrived at its destination after 107 years.
No, that's what I call a delayed delivery. What happened?
So imagine this. A letter dated 1916, complete with a King George V stamp, shows up at a house in Britain.
Over a century late, what was in it? Some kind of secret message.
You'd think, right? But nope, just a simple letter between a stamp dealer's wife and her friend chatting about everyday life stuff.
Wow. It's amazing how something so ordinary back then can seem so extraordinary to us now,
Absolutely. And it really makes you think, what about the stuff we take for granted today? Will people in the future be fascinated by our emails or like our text messages?
Right. Like imagine someone finding a hard drive from 2024, 100 years from now. They'd probably think they hit the jackpot. It's like we're all unintentionally creating these little time capsules of our lives.
It's a wild thought, for sure. Okay, ready to switch gears for a story that dives into some, well, pretty ethically complex territory. This story takes us all the way to Australia, where a sperm donor was recently revealed to have fathered, get this, over 60 children.
Over 60? Using the same clinic. How is that even possible?
Well, that seems to be part of the issue. He was using fake names.
Oh, wow. That adds a whole other layer to this. So it's not just about the number of children then. It's about consent and, people's right to know their genetic heritage.
Exactly. We're talking about more than 60 people whose entire understanding of their family history might be based on, well, false pretenses.
It really makes you think about the balance between anonymity and, everyone's right to know where they come from. Technology has made it so much easier to trace your ancestry these days. But what happens when someone intentionally tries to disrupt that?
It's a tough one, for sure. Okay, ready for a little palate cleanser after that? I think we've earned it.
Hit me with it. What's next on our journey through the strange and wonderful world of news you deserve?
Okay, prepare yourself. We're talking Lithuanian potato chips,
Yeah.
but with a very specific flavor profile. Female genitalia.
Wait, what? They make chips that taste like... Okay, I have no words.
Right. It's definitely one of the more, shall we say, creative marketing strategies I've seen lately.
So what's the angle? Are they trying to appeal to a niche market I'm not aware of? What's the thought process here?
Well, according to the company, they're marketing these chips as a solution to declining intimacy among millennials.
Oh, boy. So they're not just selling chips. They're selling like a whole sociological statement.
Seems that way, right? On one hand, it's easy to just laugh this off as a publicity stunt, which, let's be honest, it totally is. But it also makes you wonder if there's something deeper going on here. Like, are they tapping into a real anxiety about intimacy in the age of dating apps and social media?
It's definitely food for thought. And you know what? It's kind of a perfect example of what we've been talking about all along, right? How even the most outlandish, bizarre stories can reveal these weird truths about society and human nature.
It's like holding up a funhouse mirror to the world sometimes.
Yeah.
You get a distorted reflection, sure, but it still makes you see things in a new light.
Love that analogy. Like, it's been a wild ride, that's for sure.
Yeah.
From rag dolls to potato chips, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. It just goes to show the truth is out there, and sometimes it's even stranger than we could imagine. Big thanks to Televunzera 3, the news report that you deserve, for providing the inspiration for today's deep dive. And to our listeners, keep your eyes peeled for the extraordinary in the everyday, because you never know what you might find.